Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the careers that you didn't know about in the water and wastewater industry and so forth. And this is going to be take two. And believe it or not, you're never going to hear take one and so forth. But we have a special guest with us, okay, from the Connecticut Water Company, the president of Connecticut Water and Maine Water, a colleague of mine that has been around for many, many years, Miss Maureen Westbrook. So hi, Maureen. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as you know, when I launched this podcast, actually the first episode was last week, and we had Miss Lori Matthew on, who is the branch chief of the Department of Public Health and so forth. I think you've worked with her I think we all have for many years and so forth. But the water industry is kind of a close-knit industry, and it is an aging industry. And I think I've got Bill Sullivan coming on next week as far as the head of the operator certification, and I think there are some drastic statistics as far as people that are eligible to retire, have retired, and as you know as well as I do, that a lot of our colleagues have already set sail and moved to Florida or whatever. So anyway, tell us how many systems does Connecticut Water have now?
Connecticut Water serves customers in 60 towns across Connecticut, about 105,000 customers, which means about over 300,000 people we serve. Through that, we have, in the health department world, about 60 separate non-contiguous water supply systems that we operate, anywhere from major surface water treatment plants to small groundwater systems that serve populations or communities of less than 100 in some areas. But we are all over the state, and we have people operating those systems and providing the support services related to that work.
Right. Now, does Connecticut Water foster an avid recruiting program as far as succession planning as far as?
Absolutely. We know, like everybody else in the business, that, we have, admittedly, myself included, an aging workforce. And as you say, a lot of folks are retiring and moving on. And, we work really hard to attract people to the water industry. I've always said that I think the water business is really a very different business, and water people are different and really special in my mind. What we do is more than just, a regular day job as I see it. We provide public water, drinking water, for health, safety, fire protection, economic development, 24/7, 365 days a year. And I can't tell you how many times our folks have, gotten that call for the main break in the middle of the night, whether it's 10 degrees out or whether it's a beautiful summer day.
Exactly.
But they are there, and they're out there to serve. And so we know the people, the front lines, are critical to what we do in our business, as are all the people in the support functions in the organization. And I think you think of the field folks and the treatment people as one area that we're really trying to attract folks and get people to think about the water business. And then there's also the traditional careers, whether it's finance or accounting or
Yes.
Communications or anything related to that are key to the operations of a utility. And so you can do that in any number of businesses, but we'd like to think that coming to the water sector is a neat place to do that work.
Sure, absolutely. I think that was my main premise in launching this podcast, is to make younger listeners and students, high school students, and perhaps students just starting embarking in college and so forth, about the careers that are available within the industry. And it's not it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a college degree in a lot of these things, but by the same token, these positions are secure positions. They are very, very valuable, and as you said, it takes a village. Putting public water out there to the public, and working with, again, be cross connections, water conservation, billing, or whatever. That's huge, and that's one of my premises, is just trying to get out there with the younger high school students, high school seniors, to get them an awareness of the possibility of these careers. So.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of it, is you can come to us whether you have a college degree or not, whether you're right out of high school. There's fields that you can get into, as well as if you want to pursue certificates for certifications with the health department or other areas there, or if you're changing your careers at some point in your life and you want to find something different to do with the skills you already have. There's a whole number of ways that you can get into our business, and we are actively recruiting all the time. I think right now, I believe we have 12 openings on our website.
Really?
For a range from operators to field service folks to revenue services and the call center. So
Sure. Well, next week I have Bill Sullivan coming on from the State Health Department. He's the head of the operator certification program up there, and in arranging his appearance and so forth, and going over some numbers, the statistics are staggering as far as the amount of people that are retiring or are eligible to retire and so forth. And we have, I think, I think he said initially there was like almost 900 operators in the state. So it's the type of thing that what you're doing is getting these people in and making them aware. So Bill's going to go over those statistics and work with that. So we're looking forward to having him on as far as that goes. And we also have going to be having on Professor Wes Winterbottom. Professor, Wes was instrumental, along with Vicki Carrier and Bill Sullivan, in the health department of crafting my career curriculum in the water and people class. So I think that they're a huge help, and as everybody realizes, that need is out there. So your main functions now, as far as in the industry, I know you get involved in a lot of the regulatory and policy settings. So that's a whole nother gamut.
Yes, it is. And that's been a really neat part of my career here. To explain a little bit how I got into the water business, I originally started as a biology major when I was in college. So again, shows you the diversity of how you can come into this field. And then when I worked for a little while at a regional planning agency, and then I went back, got my graduate degree in environmental pollution control. Much to my mother's chagrin, I studied sewage sludge. And so I got a lot of lab space to myself, let me just put it that way. And then when I came back from grad school, I ended up going to the health department, and I worked with the folks, Lori Matthew and Darlene Gernon and Denise Rosica and Jim O'Crongley, a lot of the folks there in the water supply planning section. And Ray Jurema was there at the time as well. So a lot of the people that we continue to work with in the industry were at the health department at that time. And then I left there, went to a town planning opportunity in East Windsor, and did a lot with local land use planning and development. And that's how I came to Connecticut Water Company, was looking at how those, I was their source protection manager, and would look at local land use applications and how they might affect or impact water quality of our sources. And so came to Connecticut Water Company in 1988.
Wow.
And have had a number of different roles in the organization since that time, and really gravitated into kind of the legislative and policy things with my environmental background, being able to speak to whether it was water resource policy, water conservation, land sales of water company lands, and ways to provide incentives to protect those as open space. So it was a really neat way to use my environmental background, and in a business that I thought really was already doing a lot of strong environmental things. Just by the nature of what we do in terms of land holdings and water quality and source protection and things like that. So that's how I came to be there. I continued to evolve in my career, gravitated to, communications area, customer communications, whether it was about water conservation or just generally there. And then did different things within the organization. Customer service I led for quite a while, but really found a lot of opportunities working with whether it was the Water Planning Council and the State Water Plan,
Correct.
Or with the legislature on specific initiatives that were either we wanted to pursue or that were raised that might impact water utilities. Worked very closely with the Connecticut Waterworks Association. I know you've been involved there
Yes,
as well.
many years.
Betsy Guerra has been our executive director for some time and really done a great job helping us come together as a water industry with our common interest, whether it's for private water companies, municipal water companies, large or small, to make sure that, we can advance policies that really help all of us.
Sure. And Betsy is on the list.
There you go. It's a great resource.
Again, working with them. And I know you work with me for, I've been the chair of the Connecticut Section Conservation Committee ever since Mary Ann Dickinson left. And there's another, a trooper that's been in the industry and is certainly well-renowned, nationwide in her expertise and working with, and I think she started out, with DEP, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
And
So
she worked for Regional Water Authority at one point
exactly.
as well. Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all of the dots that I think what we're going to try to do is connect the dots with this podcast as far as that goes. And, when you get into working with the various careers and since the Water Planning Council, obviously, we did a Water Planning Council podcast last week with Jack and Laurie. In the environmental aspect has played a big role and over the years. Now with all of the contaminants with PFAS and PFAS and all of that kind of stuff, which it adds a whole nother layer. I don't want to say bureaucracy, but it's another layer of stuff that we have to deal with in providing clean, potable water.
Absolutely.
You know.
And I think your comment about, your involvement in the section and the committees there, and I think that is something as I think about people coming into the industry, that, that was such a great opportunity for me, both personally and professionally, and I think so many people have benefited from that. You're officially, quote, a volunteer, but I think it really is a benefit to any one of us to be involved in the section committees and or the CWWA. The professional connections you make there, the knowledge sharing, and honestly just the friendships that I've made through that process there through my entire career. There are always people you can go to for assistance, whether you have a water supply emergency or whether you just need some advice on what's going on. It is a great network that is available through your professional colleagues there.
You and I both, we've been there, and again, the colleagues that you meet throughout the years and so forth. It's that's how I met you, and worked with you for many years in the Conservation Committee and on many projects. And it's it's a close-knit community, and when you get to share knowledge or you have questions and so forth, you can ask people, and that's invaluable.
Absolutely.
As far as that's great. So, on a personal note, what do you do for hobbies?
Well, I'm a big UConn basketball fan,
Yes.
so I'll be leaving here today to go to watch the women tonight. But I'm a big UConn basketball fan, and people who really know me say that the thing I love to do most is shop. So I'm really sorry.
There you go.
I'm helping the economy one shopping trip at a time.
Well, I know during all of the annual conferences and so forth, when the guys are out playing golf and you're on the shopping trip.
That's right. I would escort others. We make it our mission.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so, that works out very, very well, I think, from that standpoint. And again, working with and one of the things I want to try to do is, reach out to a lot of your employees that, in various positions and giving them their aspect. What I'm going to try to do also, I was going to talk with Romana at Cave. I'm going to move my portable studio over there, and we're going to have a lot of bodies there. Maybe I can grab a few of the employees going through and get their aspects on, the take on the water industry as far as that. Now, the average age that you have under your employee, what's the average age?
Couldn't give you the stat on the average age, but I will say tenure, we have significant tenure. And I think, that's one of the things that speaks to the water industry and I think our company, honestly, to a degree, is that we have a lot of people who stay for a long time. Each year we have anniversary events for 5, 10, 25 years of service, and we consistently have, people in the 20, 25 years of service. We have a couple in 40 plus years that they've been with Connecticut Water Company. And, they have truly made it their career there and made a huge contribution to our company and to the industry, the profession as a whole. And, we work really hard to try to be a company that people want to, work with and be part of. We really focus on professional development for our employees, giving them career opportunities. We're always asking, what do you want to do next? And where would you like to be? Right now we have operator in training programs within our company that might be someone who had a prior job that goes and has an opportunity to learn in our treatment plants. We work with Gateway, like you mentioned, for their certification programs, and now with the Southern Connecticut Utility Management Program.
That's Jimmy Flynn, right?
Yeah. Our latest intern that we have in the organization is really what we're calling a rotational intern. And the person is coming in and they're going to spend some time with customer service, sometimes with communication, sometimes with IT, and it's going to rotate through a period of like 2 weeks in each of these areas in our organization so that they can get more exposure to it. And again, bring someone in that might not otherwise think of water as a place to have their career. But we work really hard at that, and we have long tenured employees, and we work hard at making sure they're satisfied. We do surveys every year, and about 9 out of 10 people, when the question's about if you had to do it again, would you work at Connecticut Water, say yes.
Sure.
And those who say if they'd recommend it as a good place to work, another 9 out of 10. So people who get there and really, get committed to what water industry is about is really great for us.
Well, you've got to be north of 30 years.
I am. I've been there 33.
God, there.
And unfortunately, as I said, I didn't start there. So, you do the math.
Well, exactly. My degree was in music, and as you know, we're in my music store in the podcast studio. But as life evolves and so forth, I worked for the water department here in town. I'm embarking on at the end of my 48th year here.
Wow.
And it's one of those jobs that you never thought you'd be there in the next year, and just okay, here I am. But it's been a wonderful experience, and meeting people and learning new skills. I started out in high school as a meter reader, and moved up, went into cross connections, went into conservation, went into source protection, and then went into IT and technology and all of that type of stuff. So there are plenty of opportunities, to expand your knowledge base and to move up, and especially from our standpoint here at town, we're a very small. A small utility. We're nowhere near the size or have the resources that you guys have, but it all has to do with making potable water so people can turn on the faucet and get potable water, and that it works out. But who would have thought 49 years or north of 33 years and so forth? But it's been a good time. It's been really good. Now, when you get to the point of I know Connecticut Water has. Well, I think. Have they? You're basically an investor-owned, correct?
Yes, we are.
So that basically you're regulated by PURA, is that?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So has Connecticut Water been under the same ownership throughout the tenure?
Actually, recently in 2019, the company, Connecticut Water Company, was purchased, or we had a merger with San Jose Water Group out in California. Oh. So that is when I became president of Connecticut Water, leading the New England operations. And then we have operations in California, which is about twice the size as Connecticut, the team out there, and in the San Jose area. So it's a very different urban environment compared to, and a couple large sources and a lot of purchased water out there as compared to what we face here in New England. And then they also have operations in Texas, and fast growing down there, as you can imagine, the development going on down in Texas. So it's kind of a neat pivotal point in our careers where we're able to bring together the strength of a larger organization, but still have the local regulation and the local team and the local management that really lets us continue to be Connecticut Water Company, but with all the extra support financially and otherwise through being part of the SJW group.
Right. And you also have a component in Maine, correct?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
part of the New England operations. So
how many customers up there?
We have about 30,000 customers in Maine.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. Here's Portland has 2,300 customers.
There you go.
We're just a small.
Everyone is as important as the other, though. It doesn't matter what.
Well, exactly. When you get to a situation now, as far as is Connecticut Water, can they avail themselves of a lot of the ARPA money or how does that work?
We don't. The towns are the ones who are receiving the ARPA money, the first level of it there, and then under the new federal funding, we are like everybody else trying to figure out what opportunities there are. We've had a lot of communities reach out to us who want to partner with us because they may have private well contamination situations where they want to extend water, or there's other areas where whether it's to put in some more storage or otherwise that might supplement some projects in those communities. So we will, like everyone else, be putting in applications through that process to try to identify it. We're eligible to participate in those funds just like a municipality. Obviously, the grant component is what's very attractive to people, and it's yet to be determined, through the health department process, which projects would do that. And then, of course, the lead and copper, as we see, there's significant dollars in that for, quote, solving that problem. It's just whether they will be available for everybody because, as you know, the investment is not only on the utility side, but on the customer
homeowner
side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for those folks, it's going to be a very different challenge than for us to be able to do our part. So
sure.
We're looking.
Now, do you find your infrastructure? I'm sure it's aging like everybody else's,
Yes.
And so forth. So I know. I think you use the WICA program.
Yes.
Okay. So how does that work now?
Like everybody else, we realize the issue of aging infrastructure, and that if you just can't wait for it, and it doesn't serve us to wait and solve it when it breaks. So we have been very intentional about a proactive approach to identify and prioritize water main and valves and services for purposes of replacement. And the WICA program, which the acronym stands for Water Infrastructure and Conservation Adjustment. It is another rate-making tool, so it's still paid for by our customers, and it's borne in rates, and it's all part of our overall capital plan, but it's just a mechanism that allows us to do it, basically add a surcharge every 6 months for eligible infrastructure projects. Still has to get approved through PURA. They review the list in advance and concur whether the priorities are correct. And then we go in after the fact, once we've actually spent the money, and they review it for prudency of whether the cost of the project was appropriate or not. So it still ends up being reflected in customers' rates, but the process is very different. As otherwise, as a private water utility, you would have to go through a general rate case with PURA, and that is a very significant, 6 month of hearings and otherwise process, a very legal based process. So we would much rather do it incrementally, and it's really better for our customers, because you can get up to 5% per year or 10% between cases. So it's typically, we put in maybe 2% of our surcharge on customers every 6 months. So it's a very nominal increase, but it's working away at a much bigger problem, that if you wait and do all that infrastructure later, you have a much bigger cost and then a much more significant impact on customers' rates.
Right. So going back, what's your favorite memory in the water industry?
Oh, that's hard to say. I guess one that I think fondly of, and another name you'll all recognize, is Jim McInerney, who was, in my mind, one of the legends of the water industry. When I first came into the Connecticut section and those the association there, we did a strategic planning session, and at that time, it was, I can't even remember, I think it was if you said something negative, they would throw a marshmallow at you. And,
I remember those meetings.
There you go. And so it was through that process, but it was also, I think it was really an opportunity where Jim was very, just very open and gracious, and really trying to bring all of the newcomers into the business. And I would say he was, and again, being a woman in the business, that can be a little different in a highly male-dominated business, but I never felt any different in the room with him or many of those folks that I had the pleasure to work with during that time.
Yeah, so. Unfortunately, Jim's no longer with us, but
Yes.
it was a sad day in the water industry and so forth when Jim passed, and all that he has done and worked with everybody.
Yes.
And whether it was with me in a little piddly Portland community, or Connecticut Water or Aquarion or any of the big three and so forth. But yeah, Jim was an elder statesman, as well as I'm going to try to get our buddy Jack McManus up here.
Oh, there you go. Another legend in the industry for sure.
Yes, go from there. All right. Fantastic. As far as when you're looking at developing your infrastructure, and do you guys have a strategic plan? I know there are a lot of water utilities out there, obviously, that are sharing operators and managing multiple systems. How do you work with that?
We've geographically set up our company so we have basically an eastern region and a western region for purposes of our staffing for all of our facilities. So we have certain people who are dedicated to the surface water treatment plants, and then the rest of it we have teams that go through the different locations from there. With the right certifications and the qualifications. As part of our longer-term capital planning, we are trying to look at, can we get consistency in those pump stations and the facilities so that they're more like each other when you go from one to the other operationally. Those systems we have acquired over a period of years. Since the early 80s, I want to say I think it's 45 separate entities we've acquired, and one of them had probably 30 systems within it. So, we have the number of customers and systems we have is often we've been asked because of it's a small system who just doesn't have the technical, managerial, financial resources to be able to continue to operate. Sometimes they're little community developments and there's just no longer the people available to operate them. So those create some unique challenges as you piece together operations that were built differently, had different construction standards and all that. So one of our goals is to, look at a capital improvement plan specific to our small systems, which is probably separate and distinct from the broader capital improvement plans that we do for, our larger systems and our distribution systems. But
Sure. All right. Yeah. Well, I think that being the point, you have a system here in Portland, correct?
yes, we do.
The Riverview or
Yes,
the Payne
yeah.
Boulevard system. So, I mean, that is a system that has been having a tough time with water. I know you guys are running tankers up here all the time to, subsidize the well that they have out there. But I think there's about 25 customers out there or something like that.
It's one of our small systems, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a challenge. And that, from the industry standpoint, a lot of these small systems, and you probably remember the name John Wittenzeller, who operated many of those small systems. And as he retired, people, just started walking away from those systems. And
Exactly.
then the state Department of Health says, okay, Connecticut Water, it's yours, or Aquarion, it's yours, and so forth. So that's one of the dilemmas that's going on. And, a lot of times those small systems, there was maybe a plumber that lived in the neighborhood that was the certified operator, or, whatever.
Exactly.
And as they age out or whatever, it's the type of thing that you need certified operators, and hence our succession planning in the water industry. Okay. So, all right, excellent. Well, how many years do you think you're going to be hanging around here?
I can't predict that.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I love the people I do it with, and I will continue every day that I show up to do my best to make sure we are doing our part as a water utility here in Connecticut to serve not only our customers, but I would say the broader industry and the state of Connecticut.
Well, I appreciate it, all you do, and I appreciate your friendship throughout the years. And again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come up here and talk about careers that we didn't know about, and so we can get that out there with these our younger listeners. But it's definitely a need that we need to develop that pipeline that we need to refill, so to speak. Not only with water, but also with talent to run it. Go from there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, all right. Maureen Westbrook from Connecticut Water Company. She is the president of Connecticut Water and Maine Water. She is here in the studio, and we appreciate her time and her efforts throughout the years and many years in the industry and doing what she does, and she does it very well. So from all of us here at Careers That You Didn't Know About in the Future of the Water and Wastewater Industry, I'm Dave Kuzminski, your host, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.